It's higher than 8. It was.
They had one on Central that were doing that.
Good afternoon. I will call the order the August 21st, 2025 special meeting of Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District Board of Directors. Will the clerk please call roll?
Director Lee,
Here.
Director Capps, Director Hartman,
Here.
Director Nelson, Director Lavanino, Director Silva,
Here.
Director Clark, Director Perotti,
Here.
Director Mosby,
Present.
Director Rouse,
Here.
Director Patino,
Here.
Director Brown,
Here.
and Chair Julian.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item of business, approval of minutes of June 26, 2025 special meeting. Is there any discussion?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Director Lee,
Aye.
Director Hartman,
Aye.
Director Silva,
Aye.
Director Perotti,
Aye.
Director Mosby,
Aye.
Director Rouse,
Aye.
Director Patino,
Aye.
Director Brown,
I'm going to abstain.
and Chair Julian.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-1.
Next item of business is administrative items. Does any board member wish to pull any of these items? Is there any public comment?
Chair Julian, members of the board, we did not receive any public comment on the administrative agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a motion, please, for a second and a second for administrative agenda?
So move. Second.
Roll call, please.
Director Lee,
Aye.
Director Hartman,
Aye.
Director Silva,
Aye.
Director Perotti,
Aye.
Director Mosby,
Aye.
Director Rouse,
Aye.
Director Patino,
Aye.
Director Brown,
Aye.
and Chair Julian.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Hello, sir.
I was 20 feet away.
The next item is Director's Report. Ms. Garland, will you please give us your report to the board?
Definitely. I have three areas I'd like to provide an update on. The first one is related to the wildfires. Since our last board meeting, Santa Barbara County has been hit with two significant wildfires. We had the Madre Fire in July, and then most recently the Gifford Fire, which we're still working on. Both of these fires resulted in significant air quality impacts, and we are very fortunate as an agency. We are structured so we have a duty officer where myself and the managers rotate throughout the calendar as far as being on duty to continually watch, even during the weekends, how air quality conditions are doing. And I happened to be on vacation for our most recent Gifford fire, and I was very impressed with the way my team worked around the clock to coordinate with public health, to issue the air quality alerts, to post the information on our websites, to get it in our social, and also to coordinate with OEM. There was a few town hall meetings that were held, and we were able to make sure that we had air quality information in English and Spanish, not only as it relates to the smoke of the wildfires, but your clean air room, how to prepare your internal or in your house environment to have the best air quality possible, and then also on dealing with ash following the fire. So it was caught a lot of attention from the media. We were, I think, covered by all media outlets here, and on our website, we have resources 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as far as what to do in response to wildfires and way to protect yourself and your family. It was ironic. The day of the Madre fire, that morning, we issued a wildfire preparedness news release, with the 3 other counties, SLO and Ventura County. It didn't get much attention because the Madre fire happened that exact same day. So we reissued it with the fire season that we're in today, in the fire watch that's going on with the current weather conditions. We reissued our how to prepare for wildfire smoke to the media and to our listserv that have signed up for our news releases. But definitely want to appreciate my staff and all the work that they did when I was off on vacation. So good work, team. Then the district attorney settlement with the Central Coast Agriculture, I just wanted to provide an update on that. Last Friday, the DA's office announced that they reached settlement with CCA regarding unlawful use of diesel generators at the operations in Buellton or near Buellton on Santa Rosa Road. We coordinated with the DA's office prior to the announcement of this settlement to make sure we were prepared to also issue a statement on this matter. The statement was circulated to your board and to the news outlets and to those on our list serve. It's very rare that the Air District opts to forward cases to the DA's office. Actually, I think in the last 10 years, there's only been 2 other instances where we have forwarded any unsettled case to the DA's. For some background, we had 17 NOVs associated with this diesel use. 16 of them were issued in March of 2021, and then there was 1 additional in March 2022, so 17 violations total. We forwarded this case over to the DA's later in 2022, so it shows it takes a while to get to resolution. We're happy that it's solved. We're happy that the DA was successful in reaching a settlement. The amount of money, I don't think, is really the issue here with the DA winning this case. It's more of the statement that it sends to all the cannabis operators in the area that air quality regulations matter. And our goal is to ensure that we have equitable application of the rules and regulation. You don't have any one business that has a competitive advantage. So the settlement includes a $620,000 penalty in total. $260,000 is provided to the APCD. We're also working now on developing a strategy to utilize a portion of these funds similar to what we did in Lompoc with the Clean Air Fund. And once we have more time to develop a program for a portion of these funds, will be brought back to your board for consideration. And then the last item I wanted to provide an update on relates to legislation. There are 2 bills that I've been talking about. AB 471, this is a single county air district compensation bill that Assemblymember Hart is running for us. I went up on July 16th to join him and provide comments, witness comments to the Senate Local Government Committee. We're very fortunate. It moved its way out of that committee, and it's now on the floor of the Senate. We don't have the hearing date yet for that. Senator Laird is a co-author, so he will be the one that's championing the bill through the Senate floor. There was one modification that was incorporated when it was at the Senate Local Government Committee, and it was associated to a report back. So if our district elects to move forward with this board compensation, 3 years after that, we would need to provide a report back to the legislature on the effects of that. CAPCOA is the bill's sponsor. And Brendan Tuig, the lobbyist for CAPCOA, has been doing a lot of work to see AB 471 through the legislative process. It's very rare that CAPCOA ever sponsors a bill. So it's a benefit that we all have for that association. AB 14, this is establishing a statewide Blue Whales, Blue Skies program. Hart is also the author of this bill. It has been moving swimmingly through both the Assembly and the Senate. Unanimous support through all of its committees. And a lot of the committees have been on consent calendar. We got an 11th hour call from the California Association of Port Authorities concerned about the overlay this program would have on vessel speed reduction program currently in existence at Port of Long Beach and Port of LA. So we actually went on a call, I think it was last week or the week prior, to get a better understanding of their concern and their potential opposition to the bill. We tried, we have some draft language that would modify it that we're going to be discussing tomorrow actually with them again. If we can get their support and we can get this modification, it will need to go back to the Senate and the floor because it'll have modifications to it. But hopefully this third time around, it'll make its way to the governor's desk for signature. And then the last item I wanted to mention, for the remainder of this legislative session, things are going, intensely right now on cap and trade or cap and investment reauthorization. Last time when it went through reauthorization, that's where AB 617, the Community Air Protection Program, was created from through the negotiations of that. It did result, that program does result in incentive funds to local grant projects, but it also came with a lot of additional responsibilities that we've been working on. We've worked through the majority of our AB 617 requirements, but as we continue working through CAPCOA and the reauthorization of cap and investment, we want to make sure that there is funding from the greenhouse gas reduction funds that continue to go to quantifiable emission reduction projects like our grant programs. And also there's a big effort to try to safeguard the air districts throughout California for getting additional unfunded mandates, similar to what happened to us with AB 617 the first go around. And that's it in my report.
Any comments from the questions? Mr.
I got a question. What's the chance of an appeal from the cannabis farm on that judgment? It's a settlement.
Directors and Director Mosby, so this was a settlement that they agreed to, so I don't believe they would appeal or file anything more.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve.
Yeah, just on that, and I support the settlement, and I think it was a long time coming and appreciate all the effort. Just a little context, though, when it comes to air quality, as far as diesel generators go, anybody could have had a diesel generator out there and been okay if they were part of agriculture. So if they were growing strawberries or broccoli or cauliflower, they could have had diesel generators, I believe.
No, this was diesel generators that were being used for prime power. This wasn't for agricultural operations.
I'm saying, though, I still believe, though, that our code, except for the fact that we do not allow diesel for cannabis or generators in general. Well, I'll look at it. I mean, we can look at it afterwards, but the county has outlawed generators for cannabis, outdoor cannabis grow, and I think that was what came from that. But it could have been. Yeah.
This was air district rules that were violated, not county.
Well, all right.
Let me look over my notes.
It's okay.
No, let me just hold on 1 second. Yeah, installing and operating diesel generators for primary electrical power. So that would be for office use, for example, versus for growing of.
Sea trains. That was the main use. Yeah, that was the main use. But anyway, it just seems like to me like you could have a diesel generator out there right now doing. If on ag land right now, do we permit diesel generators on ag lands? APCD.
Can you please come up and address this, Dave?
Am I on? Okay. Yeah, so that's a great question. And basically for all operators, whether they're agricultural or non-agricultural, they would have to comply with either a local district permit or distributed generation, which is a CARB regulation. So they would either need a permit from us or they would need to comply with the distributed generation and use certified technology.
Okay. If you just had diesel generators out there, let's say to run warming, anti-frost type stuff, do we issue permits for that?
We don't issue any permits to agricultural operators. We would do a registration for that type of equipment. And again, if it's being used for like pumping water or frost protection, things like that, that's not distributed generation, not prime power generation. So prime power generation is kind of its own separate, unique thing. So yeah, that would be if you're a strawberry grower, you can't use a prime diesel engine for prime electrical power without either getting a local district permit, which would be very, possible but difficult to get, or complying with distributed generation.
But on day-to-day operations, we can run diesel generators on ag lands as long as it's not for prime power.
For prime electricity, exactly.
Yeah,
Any other use would be allowed, and they would have to register that engine with our agency.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, thank you.
Question. Isn't there a 50 kW limit, though? It's under 50 kW?
50 horsepower, 50 brake horsepower, yeah, which is close enough, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anything smaller than that, don't have to.
Which probably wouldn't be effective.
Okay, any comments from the directors in Santa Barbara? No hands raised. Do we have any public comment on the director's report?
We did not receive any public comment on the director's report.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. Janae. Next item, now is the time for the members of the public to speak on items that are not on the agenda. Did we receive any requests to speak on items not on the agenda?
Chair Julian, members of the board, we did not receive any public comment on items not on the agenda.
Okay. The next item is discussion item G1. Will the clerk please read the item into the record?
Discussion item G1, 2024 Annual Air Quality Report. Receive and file presentation and 2024 Annual Air Quality Report for Santa Barbara County.
All right, today we have a presentation from Sage Swan, Air Quality Specialist in our Planning Division.
Hello, Mayan.
Yep.
How's everyone doing today?
Hot.
Good. No doubt. So as Aaron mentioned, my name's Sage Swain. I'm an air quality specialist in the planning division, and I just switched over to the monitoring group within the last year or so. And I'm going to be talking to you today about the 2024 Annual Air Quality Report and give you some updates regarding our monitoring programs. Next slide, please. So what you're looking at here is the map of our monitoring network throughout the county. We have 12 stations in total. There are 6 industrial sites, 5 state local air monitoring sites, which we call SLAMs, and 1 special purpose monitor. The industrial sites you see there are in green. The only big change to this map in 2024 is that we lost the West Campus station, or the Elwood station, with the shutdown of Elwood onshore facility and platform Holly. This was allowed to go the way of the dodo as the wells were plugged and the conductors were removed and all the hydrocarbons ceased to be emitted. And our 1 special purpose monitor is the one in blue there. It's in Carpinteria. It's a standalone unit that measures particulate matter 2.5 microns and below. It's located on top of the Carp School District building, and it was installed in 2023 to help the district better understand particulate matter trends and monitor wildfire smoke. Next slide. Here what you have is a table of our different sites and what we're actually monitoring. The industrial monitors and sites are in gray. The white ones are associated with our SLAMs monitors and our SLAMs sites. As you can see, almost all of them have meteorological parameters that are measured, and most of our sites are focused around measuring ozone and particulate matter. And the SLAMs are the ones that we use to determine our attainment with the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. Next slide, please. So what we're looking at here is our exceedances that we've had of the state PM10, federal PM10, and federal PM2.5 over the years, starting in 2007 and going to 2024. There were 16 exceedances of the state 24-hour PM10 standard of 50 micrograms per meter cubed in 2024. This is a 24-hour rolling average that starts at midnight and ends at midnight. 13 of those exceedances were from high winds in the Santa Maria Valley, recorded at the aptly named Santa Maria Station. 2 were due to the Santa Lucia fire and were recorded at our Lompoc H Street station. And 1 was unfortunately caused by a lawnmower that was mowing adjacent to our Goleta station. As you can see in 2021, it looks like we had almost 0 exceedances. We had 1. This is kind of misleading, as this is the year that the Santa Maria station that was managed by CARB would relinquish management to the district. And we found out that The site that CARB had didn't meet EPA siting criterias, so when the district took over, we moved it. So there was only one exceedance, and Santa Maria was not operational after Q1. In 2022, that same station, once it got up and operational, only operated in Q4. So 2022 is a little misrepresentative as well. And 3 of the 7 exceedances were recorded at the new Santa Maria station. And in 2023, we had 12 exceedances at the Santa Maria station and 2 others at Lompoc H Street and Santa Barbara that was caused from Northern California and Canadian wildfires drift smoke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question about, just refresh me why we track PM, because it doesn't seem like we can do anything about it. I mean, it's windy in Santa Maria, dirt blows around. Why are we tracking it? What can we do about it?
Well, there are mitigation measures you can take, but mostly it's for health concerns because of the size of the particles. They're very respirable.
I get that, but I mean, what am I supposed to do as a policy director that I can't slow the wind down?
No, that is true, but
There's also some strategies that other air districts use related to high winds and a lot of dirt in the surroundings that could be of something we would consider in the future if we elected to. But the primary reason, it's a state and national ambient air quality standard that has health consequences. And even if it's just increasing individuals' awareness when it is higher, especially if you are sensitive to, if you have cardiac or respiratory issues, you might want to be proactive and staying indoors or getting even out of the area when the levels are at a high reading.
Good, sir.
There are examples of people doing application in agriculture and such where they are actually in the PM 2.5 or PM 10 violations. So there are man-made events that do happen more than once. We see a lot of it over in the Valley of Lompoc, so just kind of stop now.
And there are a lot of applications for construction as well. That's another reason we monitor. Next slide, please. Unless there's more questions. Nope. Okay. So these were our exceedances here on this chart for ozone, starting in 2002 and going all the way up to 2024. As you can see, we're doing a pretty good job where the regulations are of decreasing those exceedances. We had one exceedance of the federal and state ozone standard of 70 parts per billion. We registered a 79 over an 8-hour period. Paradise Road Station on June 22nd is when it occurred. Just to give you guys an idea, ozone likes hot sunny days with stagnant atmospheric conditions, and it can blow into an area from surrounding areas and kind of get trapped in a little valley. And if you're familiar with where Paradise Road Station is, it's our highest station in elevation at about 1,000 feet on the backside of pretty much the Cumber Peak and right there in the Santa Ynez River Valley. And it does get really stagnant and hot back there. And on that day, it was about 99 degrees with winds at about 7.15 miles per hour. And we had a wind shift in the afternoon from northwest to southeast, and things kind of just got stuck. And it was one of the longest days of the year because June 20th of that year was summer solstice. So as of January 1st, 2024, Santa Barbara County is designated as non-attainment transitional for state ozone standard. And what this means is we're in a subcategory of non-attainment for ozone where we're improving air quality, but still occasionally exceeding the standard. And it's a better standard to be in because it leads to different requirements for control measures and planning than it would otherwise be in a non-attainment area, if that makes sense. All right, next slide. So here is a representation of the days of our air quality index. So what the air quality index is one of EPA's tools for communicating with the public about outdoor air quality and health. There are 6 color-coded categories. Each category corresponds to a range of index values. The higher the AQI value, the greater level of air pollution. Each has a specific color. Green is good, yellow is moderate, Orange is unhealthy for sensitive groups. Red is unhealthy. Purple is very unhealthy. And maroon is hazardous. So as you can see, we had 193 good days, 171 moderate days, 2 unhealthy for sensitive group days, kind of hard to see, which is good, but they're at the tippy top. We didn't have any days beyond that unhealthy or above. And we're going to kind of be seeing a little bit more days in the moderate range because in May of 2024, EPA changed their breakpoints for AQI and for PM 2.5. And the designation from good shrank, and they just increased the moderate category. So nothing else was touched other than the green and the yellow categories for good and moderate days. And this doesn't necessarily mean the air quality is getting worse, but they've just done more research on PM 2.5 and decided to change those categories for increased public health protection. And in addition, we've added 2 more 2.5 PM10 monitors over the course of years. Next slide, please. And we are still conducting portable monitoring. The district is an EBAM cache for the California Air Resources Board EBAM monitors. We get a grant, which was renewed on June of 2025 and will expire on May of 2027. The EBAM is that little robot-looking guy there on the bottom left-hand side. It's really easy to deploy, and it's a great tool for monitoring PM2.5 caused by smoke from prescribed burns and unplanned fires. We deployed 12 EBAMs in 2024, and neighboring districts can come and check them out and utilize them for their own purposes through us. And all we do really is minor maintenance, compile some reporting for CARB, and check them out and track where they're at and where they're deployed. The air pointer is on the right there, that big box of gizmos and gadgets. It measures benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylene, PM10 and PM2.5, hydrogen sulfide, and ozone in real time, and it's synced with our AirVision software so we can see it when we have access to a computer. And we mostly use these for special studies or complete response. And I guess it's a good thing that we didn't have to deploy it in 2024. Next slide, please. So what you're looking at now is EPA's Air Now Fire and Smoke Map. All those little green dots are low-cost air sensors. The district has a network of approximately 50 of these sensors throughout the county. They all measure PM 2.5, and we use them to assess wildfire smoke impacts and to better communicate health impacts to communities impacted by wildfire smoke or other PM 2.5. They're a fraction of the cost of the monitors that we use in our network. This allows many more of them to be deployed in different areas. And they also are very accessible, and members of the public and organizations can purchase them and place them at their residence or businesses as they like. And again, it's a real-time air monitor and shows up on the EPA's fire and smoke map if they're connected. Next slide, please. So continuing on this topic, in December of 2024, the district was awarded an air quality sensors grant under the Inflation Reduction Act through EPA to deploy and operate air quality sensors. And again, on April 2025, we were awarded additional EPA pass-through grant funds from the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association. So when we combine these two grants, we'll be able to process we're going to be able to procure over 150 low-cost air quality sensors, and hopefully the majority of them will be at K through 12 schools. We're currently reaching out through schools throughout the county to see if they will host one of these sensors. And if there's any other interested organizations or community partners, they can reach the district at sensors@spcapcd.org. Next slide, please. And in December 2024, the district was awarded an air monitoring grant under the Inflation Reduction Act from EPA, and we're going to be performing a special study of PM where we're actually going to speciate the PM particles that we collect and find out what's actually in them or what they are made of to better understand what's floating around in the air in Santa Maria. As many of you know, Santa Maria is approximately 132 square miles and includes cities of Santa Maria, Guadalupe, and the unincorporated communities of Orcutt, Gary, and Sisquoc. We're going to be contracting with Trinity Consultants to help us get our data and place our monitors in the area. And they're also going to be the ones that are majoritarily taking care of the equipment. Over the past 10 years, the study area has experienced over 25 exceedances annually of the state PM10 standard of 50 micrograms per meters cubed. So that's why we kind of want to find out, what's in the air that's blowing around out there. And we have an idea of where we want to put deploy our equipment, and it's somewhere in Guadalupe and Santa Maria, Orchid, and Sisquoc areas. And we're going to have one portable unit that we can deploy somewhere where we think we might be missing data or we think there might be some anomalies that we're not catching out there. And next slide. So in summary, the EPA strengthened the PM 2.5 National Ambient Air Quality Standard and updated the Air Quality Index. So unfortunately, that'll result in more moderate or yellow days. We had 16 PM10 exceedances of the state standard. We had 1 ozone exceedance of both the state and federal standards. We're going to be installing approximately 140 low-cost air quality sensors throughout the county in the next couple of years. And we're going to start on our Santa Maria Valley PM study. And that's all I have. There's my contact info if you need anything from me. And are there any questions?
Sure.
Oh, okay, Mr. Swain. I'm just on this rubric where you have the different monitoring network. Where is methane capture underneath that, or is it?
It's not.
Okay, I'm just curious when you measure. As soon as you said Elwood, I kind of peaked up because I was at a lecture.
Oh, okay.
Person who measures oil seeps and methane and whatnot, and of course that's offshore, but
yeah,
pretty darn close to shore.
Yeah.
And some of the theories have been that the variance in how we do oil production, either shut down or start up, makes that particular element vary in production. Yeah. And certainly there's anecdotal parts about the differences between the 70s and now and what we've got going on. So I'm just kind of curious between that and, of course, our landfill situations, and as we get close to our limit in Tahigas, I didn't know how we because that's a pretty volatile greenhouse gas. So
correct, and usually the actual methane measurements are more of incorporated into the compliance realm of things, whereas the monitoring network is more designed to measure pollutants that are compared to the national ambient air quality standards and the state standards to see if we're in attainment or not. So we don't directly look at methane.
Right. Well, and it's just once again, if it's on a compliance standard, then the oil seep wouldn't have to be in compliance. So that's why I was kind of just concerned about that in terms of what we do see and how our air quality measures up for EPA standards and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, most of the industrial sites designed around the oil and gas sector are sulfur related and not much in the volatile organic compound, which is like the BTEX area, which is where our air pointer comes in, which is really nice to have. So if we wanted to do a special study on that, we could probably set that up.
Well, this particular PhD candidate was talking about his studies as we do amortize oil production and what can happen in pressurized fissures and whatnot that do produce actually more methane. So it's it's something been going on since time immemorial, but I was just curious how and if we captured that kind of data.
I don't believe so currently.
From our permit perspective, we've been working with CARB on both oil and gas and the landfill regulations and incorporated the state's greenhouse gas requirements into our local permits. And then through our permit conditions, then our compliance team, when they go out in the field, not only do they have to ensure compliance with the criteria pollutant and toxic pollutant standards that are in a permit, but also the greenhouse gas. And then Sage, you might have actual experience when you're out in the field with your prior job at the agency in compliance with landfills or oil and gas and taking a look at some of those potential leaks. I'm thinking like at the landfill where we have to go. So that would be how we address greenhouse gases in our permit regulation, but not from our ambient air monitoring network.
Right, that was a kind of an overall health and climate concern. So
right.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Any further discussion from the board here? Okay, please.
One comment. You'd mentioned that you're placing these sensors at different schools and so forth.
Correct.
I highly want to recommend that you inquire with the outdoor school as part of that. It's environmental education as well as for monitoring itself. So,
Excellent.
and I could help you with that.
Thank you.
Director Mosby?
I'd asked this question a number of years ago, was basically the chance of error. And statistically, when you look at the small percentage that you're actually sampling, I mean, like in the Lompoc Valley, I've got pictures that would probably, and videos that would show you many PM 2.5, PM 10 violations that aren't being addressed because their air movement and such is bypassing where you're monitoring it. So I'm happy to see you're going to increase the monitoring. Well, interesting to see what violations end up coming from it or modification of what we see, because I think as you're sampling in large, I think that's the biggest hole that you have here is you have such a small, there's immeasurable amount of molecules of products in the air, and we're just such a small sampling.
You mean from our regulatory monitoring network, yeah. And when you look at our map and you compare it to other air districts, we have a pretty robust network. We've been fortunate through the oil and gas development to have some industrial sites, and the number of regulatory monitors that we're able to collect data throughout our county is nice when you compare us to neighbors to the north, south, or east. But with these low-cost sensors and the success we've been able to secure, over 140 of those will be deployed, giving us a much better picture countywide.
And something might be interesting to drill down to, because there are some other monitoring stations that are out there, but they're the cannabis grow areas, because their product is sampled and monitored. And if you see if they're in violation from a neighbor contamination or something like that, whether it is a PM 2.5 or PM 10, you could actually pick up on a number of things that are through there, because their product has to be religiously sampled and done. What it's done for me and my benefit, I have a small organic farm on the east side of Lompoc, and what's happened with having cannabis around me, my air's cleaned up. As people are not risking going to ruin a multi-million-dollar crop. Didn't care about ruining my organic products, but they didn't want to mess with the cannabis. So actually, cannabis got a little bit of beaten up a little bit today, but they actually have, in many aspects, I've seen it cleaned up a lot of the illegal agricultural applications that were going on. But it might be a chance to look out and see if they did show spikes on whatever it might be. You could maybe another tool out there that you can use that's being sampled.
Yes, sir.
I just was curious on the low-cost air quality sensor map you have. I know that there's a decent kind of saturation in Santa Barbara, Goleta, Isla Vista area. For the deployment of the 140, are you kind of earmarking a certain amount that you're trying to do into other regions, or is there like a saturation point you're trying to reach for the region?
We're trying to go as robust countywide as possible. We just yesterday sent out a letter to schools that are located in the state-defined disadvantaged communities for our county and the low-cost regions that are identified through AB 1550. So the disadvantaged communities based on Cal Enviro screen are Guadalupe and Old Town Goleta, and then also the Santa Ynez tribal region is also identified under that map. But the low-income area is much more robust throughout the entire region. So it expanded our list of schools to be much more in the north. And even what we saw just with our recent wildfires too, East County, east portion of our county is getting hammered. And we have 2 low-cost sensors in Cuyama. And wouldn't you know, one of them decided, I'm not going to work today, right when everyone was wanting to see the data. So it's real important for us to have more than just 2 in East County. So we're trying to go as cover the county as thoroughly as we possibly can.
Any board of directors in Santa Barbara have comments, discussion?
Yes, Director. This is Paula Perotti, Santa Barbara.
Hi, Paul.
Hi. Yes. I'm curious to follow up on Director Rouse's question too about Elwood, since we do not have a monitor there, are we thinking about putting any kind of air monitor in the western end? I appreciate that there's one at the community center. I just learned about that the other day. I think it's pretty recent that it was put there. But I was wondering what... Yeah, that's great. That was good news to hear. So thank you for that. But I'm wondering about the western end as well, because we've had some issues out there.
Yeah, definitely with the low-cost sensors, that will be covering more of the Isla Vista area and where we formerly had the Elwood station that was at West Campus. But those would be measuring the PM 2.5. And Director Perotti, I know just from our experience over the years, it's in a few months is when we have historically had some H2S impacts associated with water use in that area and hitting pockets of H2S. So I've been talking with our monitoring division. They know we need to dust off our air pointer. Hopefully we won't have to be deploying it anytime soon, but that device in particular is something that we want to make sure it's ready to be deployed, if not even put out in the field in advance of that October, early October date that we typically get. Pockets tend to come to life.
Excuse me.
Any further board comments, discussion?
I'd have one more quick question.
Okay.
Was there not any monitoring done at one of the schools on the western end? I thought possibly Kellogg or Elwood.
Yeah, I think it was Kellogg. I can't remember. It was an elementary school, and that's where we deployed the air pointer in years past.
Okay.
But those locations, both of those schools could also be a prime candidate for a low-cost sensor.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any public comment?
Chair Julian, we did not receive any public comment on this item.
Okay, well, thank you. This is a receive and file. No vote is necessary. The next, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next item for discussion is item G2. Will the clerk please read that item into the record?
Discussion item G2, overview of voluntary grant and incentive programs. Receive and file a presentation on the status of the district's grant and incentive programs, engagement and outreach.
Today, Mike McKay, Air Quality Specialist in the Planning Division, will give a presentation. Also of note, Mike this year has been the chair of the CAPCOA Grants Committee, so he's had a lot of opportunity to lead the 35 air districts working with CARB on a number of grant-related activities, and actually had the privilege of hosting, what were there, 5 of them? 6 CARB staff earlier this week that wanted to come in and talk one-on-one with us about our program, and actually got out in, was it San Ynez area to see a tractor and its solar array, so that was nice.
Okay, welcome.
All right, good afternoon, Chair Julian, members of the board. It's a brief presentation on the district's grant incentive program, so I'll go ahead and get right into it. Over the last 35 years, the district has distributed around $60 million in state and local funds for voluntary grant and incentive projects throughout Santa Barbara County. The mitigation funds you see in dark blue were collected from businesses that were required to mitigate excess emissions, and most of those funds were expended in the 1990s. The DMV funds in dark green and CARB funds in light green have been our primary source of funding since that time. And in order to receive grant funds for new equipment, we are required to follow state guideline definitions, and this is a voluntary program with the intent to assist in the replacement of diesel-fueled equipment that is not required currently to be replaced by regulation. So for last fiscal year, we were able to utilize each of these sources on the slide to fund a wide variety of projects throughout the county. This information is actually in Table 1 of your board letter. And one of the challenges we face is how to utilize each of these funds. For example, Carl Moyer funds can be used anywhere in the county for almost any number of projects, while community air protection funds are limited to those that are located in low-income and disadvantaged communities, which I have a slide showing that map coming up. So for our 2024 program, we had a 40-day application window where we received 74 applications. Outreach for this program does have challenges. Grantees do love the program, but they don't necessarily love promoting it. More applications, more competition, less money to go around. So there is a challenge with that, and it's understood. So despite that, we actually, around half of the applications we get each year from first-time applicants. So our outreach is reaching people that have never applied before. And we do use multiple outreach avenues like social media, presentations like this, news releases. And I have a good relationship with all the local off-road dealers, and I know that they promote our program on a daily basis because it promotes their profit. So it's a win-win for both of us. So each box in this slide is a very generalized step in the process to qualify for and receive funding for a project. Now, the information we require is pretty straightforward to us, but we do understand, especially for first-time applicants, that compiling the required information is likely outside of their normal business operations, and especially to gather and submit a complete application packet, there is a lot involved. So it's our goal to make sure that everyone receives a high level of customer service and is able to walk away with the same experience. For our 24 program, we were able to fund 42 projects, 10 infrastructure, 1 marine, and 31 off-road, which I'll show on the next slide. Each project here has its own set of nuances. For example, a marine project that's funded, the owner needs to remove their boat from the water for an extended period of time for work to be done and the old engine to be removed and the new engine to be put in. So they do have downtime that directly impacts their bottom line. So we work with them to when their boat is off season so it's not impacting their profit. Going back to our 23 program, we also funded 10 infrastructure projects. However, that only had 46 charging ports. So as you can see on this slide, while infrastructure projects might not be increasing in number, each project on average does seem to be growing in size. The off-road category is historically our most popular, and this fiscal year was no different with the large portion of our grant funds obligated to off-road equipment. This equipment is high usage, which means they tend to have the greatest emission benefits. Typically, this category will have a 3-year project life, so the 130 tons of emission reductions you see on this slide is only representative of those 3 years. Long-term, these emission reduction numbers are much higher, especially for this off-road equipment. And we perform 3 separate inspections for every project. A pre-inspection, which is the 2 images on the left. It's where we confirm that the existing equipment is operational, where it's operating, and that it matches what's on the application. Then a post-inspection, the 2 images on the right, confirming that the new equipment matches what is on the grant agreement that we have with the grantee. And then we have a salvage inspection, which confirms destruction of the existing equipment. And all of these must occur before reimbursement is made to the grantee. Then we have a 4th inspection, which is an audit. And these audits are required annually, and they include 5% of active projects or 20 active projects, whichever is less. And currently right now we have around 200 active projects. And we have 4 funds we use typically for our grant program: Farmer, Community Air Protection, Carl Moyer, and $2 DMV. And each one of those, that audit percentage applies. So for everything under Carl Moyer, we have to do 5% for every, so there's a lot of audit work involved too with the grant program. The next slide, we're gonna have a short video showing part of a salvage inspection. Jeez. So that poor tractor is no longer with us. We are required to document this with pictures and video to confirm that the engine and frame are rendered unusable. And again, this has to be done prior to reimbursement. And being on the salvage topic, there are state programs like CORE, which is the Clean Off-Road Equipment Program. They do fund new electric equipment. They don't require destruction of the old equipment. Our program doesn't require it to be electric, but we require destruction of the equipment, and that's a function of the emission reduction idea behind the whole Carl Moyer program, and that's why the destruction of what some people might think is a perfectly good tractor needs to happen. So here is the map I spoke of earlier, and overlaid are all grant project locations for our 2024 program. The 2 green areas defined by the state as disadvantaged communities are census tracts in Guadalupe and the Goleta area. And in the middle is an orange area, which is the San Ynez Band of Chumash Indians Reservation, and that is designated as a disadvantaged community designated as tribal land. And the band around these 3 locations are half-mile buffer zones that the state's defined as low-income household eligible. And then we have the blue areas, which are designated as low-income communities. And that upper right portion is where a few county lines come together. So those green areas are just outside of our jurisdiction. And while the Santa Maria Valley will always have the largest number of off-road projects, our goal is to try and provide funds to applicants throughout the entire district. And we hope this map is a reasonable example of that goal. So the next few slides, I'll be discussing some of our incentive programs. And no better place to start than LEAF, which has been widely successful since its inception a few years ago. Year 4 of the program funded 810 pieces of equipment using Carl Moyer State Reserve and $2 DMV funds. And the last project was paid out on July 31st, 2025. While there's no set date to open LEAF Year 5, we do have other incentive projects that I'll explain on the next couple of slides. So with changes to that the board took action on earlier in this meeting, the old car buyback program, we'll see some incentive boosts this fiscal year. From model year extension to higher incentives per vehicle, we're hoping these increases along with an added dismantler will increase participation. Then we have the Heat Clean program, which opened on May 8th with approximately $400,000 for projects. This program is funded by CARB's Wood Smoke program, and to date we've issued $228,000 of that $400,000 in vouchers, so we have $172,000 left for this program. And we received great feedback from our Clean Air Rooms program in Guadalupe and look forward to expanding into Old Town Goleta. In June of 25, the district board approved a $50,000 agreement with the Housing Authority of Santa Barbara County for a future Guadalupe project. Then the district is able to add community air protection funds to assist with clean air room programs in the disadvantaged community of Old Town Goleta. And then we have the Clean Air Fund program, which your board approved in June. Community engagement and outreach are important for this program. And project ideas range from air filtration to school furniture replacement projects in Lompoc. And these funding efforts are a work in progress. So we'll keep the board apprised as we work through the particulars. Moving ahead to next fiscal year, this slide represents data from Table 3 in your board letter. And we look forward to being able to continue to fund multiple projects throughout the county. And as you can see, this is the second year with no state budgeted farmer funds. And while we don't expect that to change for this fiscal year, we'll keep you guys apprised if we get any pleasant news on that front. So our 2025 program opened on July 28th, and we're utilizing the same 40-day application window where the final day to submit applications will be on September 5th. We have found this application window, along with plenty of outreach, is enough time for people to gather and submit everything needed for a complete application. And our outreach list has over 1,100 contacts, and we do send out multiple notifications leading up to the July 28th launch. All applications and web pages are currently active with updated information. The picture there on the right, on July 9th, we were able to host an electric equipment demonstration event at Allen Hancock College South Campus. This was the second year that we held this event. 16 electric equipment vendors were able to participate, and the equipment was ranging from small landscape equipment to large heavy-duty construction equipment, all of it electric. We were able to get Ventura APCD and CARB actually visited as well to answer any questions that anybody might have. And Hancock College has been a great partner for this event. There were well over 100 people that showed up that came through for this. It was a 3-hour event. It was also hard to plan because if we have it on the weekend, you're not going to get the people that are using the equipment to show up, but to have them come away from their work day We had to have it midweek during the middle of the day. So it's the semantics of it are hard, the logistics. But the feedback was really positive, and we look forward to this growing next year and in future years. In addition, I was able to present our program to the County of Santa Barbara Agriculture Advisory Committee on July 10th, and as well as the Santa Barbara Harbor Commission on July 27th, or July 22nd rather. This is something I've done a few years running, and we have received really good feedback from these committees, so that's positive. Go ahead. So one last slide as I wrap up. I have no intention of reading these to you, but I did want to share them as part of the presentation. They're great examples of how our grant incentive programs are a positive impact to businesses and personal lives within our community. And we keep good relationships with our grantees, and this positive feedback, I think, is a good confirmation that our program is working well. So that about wraps it up. It's my contact information, email address to be added to our grant outreach list, and if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to address them.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions here from the board here or in Santa Barbara? Thank you. This item is, any public comments?
We receive no public comment on this item.
This is a receive and file item. No vote is necessary. Thank you. Good job. Next item H, this meeting will be rebroadcast on Sunday, August 24th, 2025 at 5 p.m. on the County of Santa Barbara TV channel 20. And the Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District Board is adjourned to 1 p.m. on October 16th, 2025. Okay.